Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into Chapter 1 of a really incredible tutorial called The Modern Data Center, Networking in the AI Age, put together by the team at Virtualization Options LLC, a technology research and advisory organization out in Colorado. We're going on a bit of a journey today to uncover the foundational history of data center networking. It's a fascinating story of solving massive physical challenges, but interestingly, it's also about how the very solutions that built the digital world eventually became the bottlenecks threatening to break it. If you want to understand how modern cloud and AI infrastructure actually works, you have to understand the empire that came before it and exactly why that empire fell.
Okay, let's dive into this. It's honestly amazing to realize that every modern hyperscale fabric, those massive networks powering Amazon, Google, and Microsoft right now, traces its lineage back to a single laboratory breakthrough. We're going all the way back to May 22nd, 1973, a time of thick coaxial cables and massive mainframes. This one single invention in a lab birthed the packet switching vocabulary that is still spoken by literally every network interface card and switch manufacturer today. To properly unpack this history, we're looking exclusively at Chapter 1 of that 12-part tutorial from Virtualization Options LLC. We're focusing strictly on the heritage of the network here. We really need this exact context so we can fully grasp what comes next in the industry. Looking at the timeline of this golden age of networking, we see a period where brilliant engineers were solving massive, real-world physical puzzles. In 1973, Ethernet is born. By 1985, a crucial mathematical algorithm called STP is defined to save these rapidly growing networks. And then, by the 1990s, these innovations matured into the standardized three-tier data center model, a model that would completely rule enterprise IT for nearly 2 decades. Let's start with that 1973 breakthrough. Robert Metcalfe and David Boggs over at Xerox PARC published the foundational specification for Ethernet. Back then, it operated on a shared coaxial medium at a whopping speed of 2.94 megabits per second. But the real magic? That was CSMA/CD. The elegance of it was just its absolute simplicity. Any node could transmit data when the wire was quiet. If 2 nodes talked at the exact same time and caused a collision, they used a deterministic math algorithm to just back off and try again. It's kind of like polite party guests waiting for a natural pause in the conversation before speaking up. Now, as organizations grew into the 1980s, connecting these Ethernet segments together using Layer 2 switches created a massive problem: loops. Switches could accidentally recirculate the exact same frame of data endlessly, creating devastating broadcast storms that would literally crash networks. Enter the absolute hero of the 1980s. In 1985, Radia Perlman invented a pivotal solution called the Spanning Tree Protocol, or SDP. It was a brilliant mathematical algorithm that automatically found redundant links and put them in a standby state. It essentially pruned the network into a loop-free tree shape so companies could safely wire up their buildings without the whole thing collapsing. And this brilliantly illustrates how those early inventions naturally evolved into the 1990s three-tiered data center model. It was highly logical. You had step 1, the access layer at the bottom, directly connecting servers to the network. Step 2, the distribution layer in the middle, aggregating traffic and applying security policies. And step 3, the core layer at the top, acting as the high-speed backbone for everything. This hierarchy was just perfectly aligned with how the world worked at the time. For a long time, life was really good. The network was stable. But then, a fundamental shift occurred in the technology landscape, a massive plot twist that disrupted this entire golden age. We have to ask the defining question of the early cloud era: what happens when traffic completely changes direction? To truly understand this crisis, we have to look at traffic patterns. The three-tier model was built for one very specific direction: north-south traffic. That means a user out in a branch office, the client, requesting a file from a server inside the data center. The data travels straight down and straight back up vertically. Simple. But modern applications rely heavily on east-west traffic. This is a lateral movement. This is a server communicating intensively with a neighboring server in the exact same facility. So, by the mid-2000s, the underlying assumption baked into the three-tier design was thoroughly shattered. The main culprit? Virtualization. Suddenly, physical servers were chopped up into dozens of virtual machines that needed to talk to each other constantly. Add in distributed databases syncing data and microservices continuously exchanging health checks, and you have a total architectural mismatch. The network was built for a vertical world, but all of a sudden, workloads were living in a horizontal one.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that as we enter this three-tier crisis, the hardware wasn't actually the problem. The switches themselves were incredibly powerful. The issue was the architectural assumptions they were arranged in. The physical layout of the data center was fundamentally working against the software it was trying to run.
Let's look at the numbers, because the reality of this crisis is stark. Today, measurements consistently show that 70 to 80% of modern data center traffic is east-west. Imagine the inefficiency there. To reach a server sitting right next to it in the very same row, a packet of data had to travel vertically, all the way up from the access layer, through distribution, up to the core, back down to distribution, and finally down to the neighboring access switch. It's literally like taking a flight with 3 layovers just to visit your next-door neighbor.
And the pain doesn't stop there. Remember STP, the absolute hero protocol from 1985? Well, in this new, dense, high-traffic era, it kind of became a villain. STP prevented loops by blocking redundant links. That meant 50% of the expensive physical bandwidth companies had installed was permanently blocked in a standby state. Think about that. You were paying for hardware capable of carrying twice the traffic, but you were forced to leave half of it completely unusable. But here is the final nail in the coffin for the 3-tier model. When a link failed or something changed in the network, STP had to recalculate that loop-free tree, and that process took 30 to 50 seconds. Now, back in the 1990s, a 40-second hiccup was just enough time to take a sip of your coffee. No big deal. But for modern distributed cloud applications, a 50-second pause is an absolute eternity. It caused agonizing outages for production workloads. So the crucial point is this. It created a classic double-edged sword of technology. The very mechanisms that saved the network in the 1980s became its greatest bottlenecks in the cloud era. The hierarchical tiers and the spanning tree protocol were brilliant, necessary inventions for their time. But as virtualization and the cloud completely inverted how data flowed, those exact same inventions caused devastating latency, wasted massive amounts of capacity, and created crippling outages. The legacy architecture fundamentally broke down under the weight of east-west traffic, which leaves us with a seemingly impossible physical and mathematical challenge. If we can't use STP because it blocks half our bandwidth and takes way too long to converge, how on earth can we build a massive network where every path is active, but loops never happen? What does a network look like when you don't block links? That is the billion-dollar question that birthed the modern hyperscale era, and it's exactly what we will uncover in our next explainer. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.